So let's dive into this really powerful story from the ancient Lotus Sutra. But look, this isn't just some ancient history lesson. It's really about a problem that is absolutely timeless. How does a world-changing idea actually survive in a world that's hostile to it? And this text, it offers this surprising blueprint, a kind of spiritual armor for keeping wisdom alive, against all odds.
I mean, it's a huge question, right? A visionary leader, they can change the world, but what happens after they're gone? How do you make sure their wisdom doesn't just get watered down or, fade into history? This was the exact problem staring the Buddha and his followers right in the face.
I want you to just imagine the scene for a second. The Buddha, he knows his time is limited, and he's looking out at this massive assembly. His teachings on universal enlightenment, they've all been laid out. But you can feel this tension in the air, this one huge unspoken question. Who is going to carry this torch into the future? Especially a future that's supposed to be pretty dark and difficult. And in this really crucial moment, you see this wave of commitments start to build. Different groups of his disciples, one after the other, they stand up to make this solemn pledge. And this isn't just any old promise. We're talking about a series of vows made right there in the presence of the Buddha himself. First step, you have this group of 20,000 bodhisattvas. These are beings who are dedicated to enlightening everyone, and they step forward. And their vow, it's absolute. They basically tell the Buddha, don't you worry about a thing. They pledge to uphold and teach this sutra, even if it means sacrificing their own lives to do it. It's just a stunning display of total, complete dedication.
And the momentum just keeps building. Next, 500 arhats. These are disciples who've already reached their own enlightenment. They step up, and they also make a vow, promising to spread this teaching far and wide, way into other lands.
Then, an even bigger group of 8,000 disciples joins in, but they add a really important piece of context to their promise.
And here's why they say they have to go to other lands. It's because the people right here in this world are, and I'm quoting here, arrogant, full of malice, and deceitful. Now, this isn't just them making an excuse, it's a really stark warning about the kind of hostility this teaching is going to face.
But right as all of these huge groups are making these epic vows, the camera, if you will, it kind of zooms in on two individuals. Because in the middle of all this cosmic drama, a very, very human story about anxiety and feeling left out is about to unfold.
The focus shifts to Mahapajapati, who was the Buddha's aunt, the woman who actually raised him, and Yashodhara, his wife. Now, they're both incredibly devoted nuns, but as they're listening to the Buddha give out these amazing prophecies of future Buddhahood to all these other people, they start to feel this growing sense of, hey, what about us? And you can almost hear the quiet pain in Yashodhara's thoughts, After dedicating her whole life to this path, she's thinking that her name, specifically, has been forgotten in this grand promise of future enlightenment. But the Buddha, with his incredible awareness, he doesn't miss this silent plea. He sees his aunt looking right at him, and he recognizes her expression, not as doubt, but as sorrow. He knows she's worried she's been forgotten too. And in what is just a moment of incredible tenderness and honestly brilliant teaching, the Buddha addresses them directly. He takes their personal anxiety and turns it into this universal affirmation, showing that his promise really is for everyone, no exceptions.
So what does he do? He gives them their very own prophecies. Mahapajapati will become the Buddha known as all beings joyfully seen, and Yashodhara will become possessing 1,010,000 marks of light. The message here is crystal clear. This path is open to absolutely everyone, no matter who you are or what your past is.
And the relief is just immediate. You can feel it. The nuns speak this verse together, and their anxiety is just gone, replaced by this deep, profound sense of peace and joy. Their place in this great story has just been confirmed. Okay, so with that really personal story settled, the scene just explodes back out to this massive cosmic scale, an almost unimaginably huge assembly of bodhisattvas. We're talking 800,000 kotis of nayutas. They all rise as one. They've been waiting, and now they're ready to make what is the most detailed and difficult vow of all. Their pledge is super specific. They vow to preach this sutra precisely when it's the absolute hardest to do so, in a future frightening and evil age, a time filled with fear and ignorance. I mean, they are volunteering for the most difficult mission you can possibly imagine. And they know exactly what they're up against. They actually describe 3 specific types of enemies they're going to face. First, you've got arrogant and corrupt monks, people inside the establishment. Second, there are these greedy hermits who pretend to be holy, but attack the sutra's followers from the shadows. And third, you've got those who will use their political connections to kings and ministers to persecute them officially.
So the reality of what they're signing up for is, well, it's brutal. They are prepared to face horrible insults and abuse. They expect to be physically attacked with swords and staves, and to be exiled over and over again. So you have to wonder, right? How could anyone possibly make a promise like that?
And that question brings us to the core teaching of this entire chapter. They reveal their strategy, their secret weapon, for surviving this hostile world and protecting the Buddha's wisdom.
This is the key. We will put on the armor of patience. The character for patience in the original text is this fascinating image. It's the character for a heart right underneath the character for a blade. So this isn't passive weakness. It's the strength to endure incredible pressure. It's armor, a conscious, deliberate act of strength that shields them from all the hatred they know is coming their way.
And what's their motivation for doing this? Well, the text is very clear. It says, "I do not cherish my body or life, but only the unexcelled way." It's not that they're throwing their lives away. Their courage comes from a love for this teaching that is so profound, it actually outweighs their own fear of getting hurt.
And that brings this ancient story right into our lives, right now. The sutra presents patience not as just sitting back and waiting, but as a kind of resilient strength, an armor that you can consciously choose to put on. So the question it really leaves us with is this. When you face the inevitable insults, the misunderstandings, the hardships of your own life, what is your armor? What gives you the strength to endure and protect what you value most?